everyone to another edition of Mystics Outlook. Got Cardo Dudley Jr. here. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. Now, look, for Washington, we knew they had a big week coming into this one. You had 3 games, varying degrees of difficulty, but you want to know what ended up happening? Washington ended up going 0-3, which means they are now officially under 500, I believe, for the first time this season. We saw Alicia Gray, Nia Coffey lead the Dream past the Mystics 80-73. Cardell, just want to hear your thoughts on that one. I know for those of you that checked out playback, you know what, you have an idea what we thought during the game, but you know, had a couple moments to reflect on it or whatnot. What did you take away from tonight's game?
I was just gonna make shots. Pretty much doing this losing streak. It's pretty much been the case. When three of your starters go for 6 of 27 combined, three starters combined for 6 of 27 from the field, that's just hard to overcome. You need that means you need a couple of reserves to play, pretty much score 15 plus, around 20 plus to make up for that, and that's just not realistic. Maybe one game you can expect an explosion, but you know over the course of 2 to 3 games, the games that they lost, that's especially on the road. You need your starters to handle their business. You know what I'm saying? To lessen up the load for the reserves. Maisha Hines Allen 3 for 10, Cloud 2 for 11, Shatori Walker Kimbrough 1 for 6. And a lot of the reason why that they shot so poorly is because they had to expend so much energy defensively. Um, Leisha Gray, she had herself a game. 27 or 80 of 11. No one could deal with her. Ryan Howard, she's a handful regardless, but she didn't really need to get going aggressive, offensively scoring wise because Alicia Gray had it going. Nia Coffey was huge, both ends huge, big key blocks down the stretch, timely 3 pointers, rebounding, timely passes. She did it all. And then Cheyenne Parker, whenever they didn't get it, she was underneath to clean it up, and that's your ball game right there. Uh, Look, we all know the Mystics again. They're wounded. They don't have much size, in the paint or whatnot. So they're relying on their 3 point shooting to get them going. But you're shooting 28%, which has pretty much been the case. They've been shooting in the 20s during this 3 game win streak. Uh, teams are not dumb. They're playing against other professional women. So playing for the drive because you don't have to defend them at the three and just crowd the paint and just pound them inside. And then when they make mistakes because they're pressing, get out and run. And that's why the last few games also doing this from West Street, you've seen the opponent beating them at fast break points as well. Uh, Bottom line is they got to get healthy and they got to start making shots. Yeah, they don't have much room for error to not make shots. You know, on top of the big injuries that they have, man. So yeah, for them it's urgent, urgent. Because if they don't turn this around in the next week or so, couple weeks, uh, they can very well find themselves out of the playoff spot. And luckily for them, the team under them, I think in Chicago, they only have 9 wins, and they're struggling as well as the teams below them. So it's like they got breathing room as far as maintaining that 7th seed for right now. But the problem is, man, if you lose enough games, let's say you do make the playoffs, you're gonna be at the bottom of the standings. And I keep saying, no one wants to make that trip to Vegas in the first round. I don't care healthy or not. That's a tall order because they got home court. You don't really want to go to New York. You don't want to deal with Connecticut either. So, but you damn sure don't want to deal with the Aces, man. So they gotta get back in the lab and get their rhythm back. You because this can't keep going, man. It just can't. Sometimes it's just that simple. Got to make shots, and they didn't make them today.
Like you said, I'm not going to do any extra talking to belabor the point that you made. They can't afford to. We've been talking about the margin of error. You don't have the luxury of one of the players that's missing going on a personal run during a spurt of a game or picking a spot or any of that. And especially what's happening on the interior defensively. Like, you know what you don't have right now. And shout out to Tiana Hawkins. We're going to keep giving her credit for what she's done during this time. I think it's another double-double today. But like you said, folks got to make shots. You had 2 folks in double figures in the start, and that was the difference. Neither team's bench played well. Neither team got a lot from their bench. It was just the starters, and you brought up Nia Coffey. That was it. Her production, like her line, just look at the separate. Was it 7 point L? Just read her line. Not even being funny. Read her line. That's the difference. You mentioned Cheyenne and Ryan. Like you said, not have they didn't have to press because obviously a little bit more healthy. You had Alicia going, and then again Coffee. She was huge for them time after time. Washington's trying to do things to take things away. Obviously, you're gonna show Ryan a little bit more attention at times, and we know what Cheyenne's done against them when left 1-on-1. She's proven that a couple times this season. And, a couple times, I think with Cheyenne, Ryan, Alicia at times, just kicking the ball out, finding Coffee, and she made Washington pay almost every time. They were step late or a couple steps away. I think, what was it? She made 5 shots, 4 of them were threes tonight. It's huge. You literally made a team pay for just turning their back on you for a second. And she made them pay repeatedly on both ends. All right, gonna get straight to it. Player of the game. You on mute.
Alicia Gray, she was dominant. I know that's easy.
All right. X Factor. I think we're both in agreement to Nia Coffee here.
Of course.
It's very simple in this one. We saw, and Alicia started slow. And once she got going, they never were able to put it back in the bottle at all. And again, those two were used tonight. For Washington, you're now in the standings. You're now 12-13. As Cardo mentioned, you get to hold on to 7th at the moment. But this week was huge because you let a team that was behind you, Minnesota, jump you, and then you let the two teams that were previously ahead of you, in Dallas and Atlanta, keep actually increase their distance.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like you said. Now you got the race against health and getting right, and then with the never-ending clock that the season's coming. As each week goes by, like this was a 3-game week. It's all 3. You can't afford these weeks. You just can't.
And August, they got a big game coming up Friday against the Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big game because the Sparks are, I think they're tied with Chicago and 9-15 right now for that last spot. And they back-to-back games against them. So those are both at home. So they're gonna play the Sparks twice at home, and then Friday and Sunday coming up. Those are 2 big games. Hopefully, some of these injured mystics can come back. Hopefully, we'll see. The Mercury, I think they're done. That should be a win, but you still got to come out and prove it. Then you got the Aces. Then you got Chicago again. You got the Fever, Wings, Sun, Aces, Lynx. It gets real at the end of the month. Lynx and Aces. Dang.
Yeah.
They play Aces
Yeah.
3 times this month. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets real this month. This month.
Quick too.
Yeah, it
Quick.
gets real.
Very very quick.
Hopefully they're gonna need people to get healthy. It's not even a hope.
It's a must at that by the end of the month. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you need all 3 of those bodies back by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And again, emphasis on need. And you mentioned, I think you just mentioned LA and Chicago, right? Chicago looks like, as long as they don't implode, they're going to beat Phoenix. And then LA's on the other end of the Liberty,
Right.
right now. So, again, it's ever changing. But if you're Washington, you now have to be aware of everything behind you because you're low key in a free fall right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter, they get some days to hopefully try to get right, like Cardell said, get back in the lab or whatnot. But man, some huge games, like the importance of those games coming up, have multiplied now because you're in a free fall.
Right.
It's just that simple. Because some of the games that you lost against, at one point you might have looked at Minnesota like, oh, you can take care of Minnesota even if you were losing people. That is not the case right now. You lost to Minnesota while they were, it just is what it is. So they're in 7th right now. We'll check in with you guys later this week. And they got it's up to them to improve their standing. It's that simple. Hopefully they get a body or 2 back. At least even one of those players back this upcoming weekend would be great for them. But it's on them. Would you say get healthy and make shots, right?
Sometimes it's just that simple. Got to make shots, baby.
All right, y'all.